special meeting. As you know, the governor has required that districts do come back and meet with the public to discuss reentry plans and what the fall may look like for each school district. We did meet last week. We still have some questions that are left over from that meeting. We are going to go to public after our exec session. Just so anybody who's out there who may not know, what we do is we go into exec session to, at this point, we are going to go into exec session to seek legal advice from the board's attorney. And then what is expected is that we will be returning at or around 6 p.m. so that we can continue to continue the dialogue between the board, the attorneys, administration, and the Brentwood community insofar as what next year's, what this September's plan may look like. So we hope to see everybody back at 6 p.m. In the meantime, I am going to, at this point, call the meeting to order at 4:39 p.m. I'm gonna ask maybe if we can do the pledge to the allegiance, pledge to the flag now. If everybody could stand for that, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So with that being said, I'm going to need a motion to convene general session at 4:39 p.m.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Felix. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. I need a motion to recess general session and to convene into exec session at 4:40 p.m. for the purpose of seeking legal advice from the board's attorney. I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Moore. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So at this point, we will hopefully see you back at 6 p.m. I hope that you're able to join us then. Candace, Welcome back to everybody in the Brentwood community. We are on YouTube, and the chat session is live. We already have questions about some of the plans for the upcoming school year. I'm just going to go ahead and try to tackle the biggest question that's been out there. Welcome back to everybody in the biggest question that has been out there since we rolled out our re-entry plan last week. So I think that I'm getting some feedback from one of the board members who might be listening to it live. Okay. So the question out there is, or the concern out there is, why wouldn't we give the parents the option to distance learn if they so chose? And to answer that question, and as best as possible, that's what this meeting today was for. The board, along with the district administrators, are exploring how it is that we can go about giving that option to all parents, all guardians, regardless of whether or not there is a medical condition that is of concern, or a medical condition for the student, or the adults in the family, or other people in the family. So we are currently discussing how it is that we can roll out a plan that will give the community members the option to distance learn, again, without the medical requirement that we had mentioned last week. I think every board member, and I speak on behalf of every board member, I think that every board member has heard from a multitude of community members. We've seen the responses to the feed from last week's meeting. Parents want a choice. Parents want an option. They want to be able to decide on their own what's best for their child. That's parents, guardians, or whoever it is that's caring for the students in our school district. So I'm here to let you know that we've heard you loud and clear, and that is exactly what we are trying to approach right now. With that said, I believe that we still need more time. The superintendent is charged with, superintendent and his staff are charged with, what the plan like this would look like. We probably have more questions now than we had before in terms of how to best roll this out. And as such, we're probably going to give superintendent and his staff, the time needed to develop this and to get back to us with what that model will look like. Most certainly, it will involve a synchronous and virtual learning model. But what that looks like is still to be determined by the district administrators. Mr. Lochner, do you want to just jump in? I know that this was something that we all agreed on, including yourself.
Yes, no, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Feliciano. Yeah, we are obviously going to offer that option that you had just spoken about. It was something that, we knew kind of early on that we would get to this point. What I did want to say is that we're going to be sending out from this office tomorrow. It will be posted on the website. We will be giving out a survey, and we are going to ask every parent, we're going to encourage every parent to fill out the survey for each child. And what it will be, it'll be a simple survey really asking whether you are going to send your son or daughter to school in the hybrid method, or you're going to choose to keep your student home, whether every single day, and they'll be taught virtually. Or there's a third option, and that is the homeschooling option, that you may want to keep your son or daughter home and homeschool your son or daughter. And homeschooling, to be clear, is different than home teaching. Homeschooling is where the parent takes the responsibility of teaching over. Obviously, we will assist. We can give you books. We can give you district curriculum, but really, the parent is responsible for the instruction of that child. The home teaching, if you will, we're going to. I'll use that terminology now. Home teaching is you're still obviously enrolled in the school district, and you're just asking to be taught virtually every single day, not come into school on the hybrid method, which is on an alternating day.
Ms. Loshana, and thank you for explaining that. And I know that, some of this still may sound confusing to some community members. We still don't have the names and the labels of what this new model will look like. You've referenced it as a home teaching model, and what we'll do is in the upcoming days, we will continue to explore this, and we will obviously have a couple more meetings as these models develop. But the essence of today's meeting is to, again, let the community know that we've heard you. It's loud and clear. As board members, I think that each one of us had our own concerns. We are here to represent the community, but to be fair to administrators, to be fair to teachers, this synchronous learning model, this home teaching model, is new to every one of us, staff and parents alike. We know and we are aware that there are going to be deficits, even in the best laid out plan. And again, as we mentioned last week, we're going to need cooperation. We're going to need the community support. We're going to need the community's patience. We are, we're all in this together, and we're going to, learn what the best model is along the way. I mean, this is not something that we've ever done before. To that point, I just want to make sure that I make the announcement that there are going to be a couple of parent workshops available over a period of 4 days, August 21st from 10 to 11, August 28th from 5 to 6 p.m., August 31st from 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning, and on September 4th from 5 to 6 p.m. Ms. O'Connor, can you tell me where they would access the parent workshops? How would you get to the parent workshop?
Yeah, we'll post that. It's a link that they'll have to click on. So we'll post that both on Facebook and our website as well, so the parents can see how to get onto that.
Do you have any?
Dates will be on there again, correct, Stacy?
What's that?
We'll publish the dates for the workshops again, so the community is aware of what dates and times.
Absolutely. We have a whole flyer that'll go there with all of the information, what we'll be covering, the parent portal, Parent Square, which we're very excited is our new communication application, as well as eSchool data and Microsoft Teams, what their students will be working on, so they could see how that works. So absolutely, they'll have all the information there, and we're really excited to help them help their students, to navigate the virtual learning.
Thank you.
Stacey, I have a question also. Is there going to be a printed tutorial for parents who cannot be available during those times?
I believe we're going to record them, so they'll have access to them. But we'll send out that information on if they miss any of, if they miss those, how they can review it after
They'll
that.
be translated, I'm sure. The recordings will be translated.
It'll be in English and Spanish. Yep, on all the dates.
So that's great. I mean, so we are trying to do everything we can to get everybody ready for this very, very challenging school year. And we have 4 workshops already scheduled. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the only 4 that we will provide. I know that we've also discussed professional development for staff. There are at minimum 2 days at the beginning of the school year. We've already discussed adding more days for professional development so that the staff the teachers, the TAs, everybody involved, feels prepared to get this right. Again, I can't stress enough that we are going to make mistakes. There's no doubt about it. We can't just change the way we do business from one day to the next without encountering difficulties. But I'm going to be the first person to say that we should avoid pointing the fingers. We should avoid blaming each other. We should do everything that we can to be a part of the solution. And I just have to emphasize that over and over and over again. I'm already anticipating personally that we're going to have problems with transportation on the first couple of weeks of school. Even in this hybrid model, there are going to be there's going to be tremendous amount of confusion. When is my bus going to show up? Did I forget that today was the day that I had to go to school? So what are those options after? I believe that that we are trying to do the best that we possibly can. I believe that everybody here, including administrators and board members, are sincere in their efforts to try to get this right, to try to get the best possible education for every one of the children in our school district. But with that being said, again, there are going to be some areas that are going to need improvement. And I'm asking that we be supportive of each other, that we be supportive of administrators, we be supportive of teachers, we be supportive of parents who may not know how to navigate the system as well as others. I think that if we do work together, we will have an incredibly successful year. And that's what I asked for. So with that being said, Mr. Loshner, I have a couple of questions that came out of the last meeting, the last reentry plan meeting, the community meeting that we had last week. And one of them was off of the presentation that you had made. Let me just get right to it. So you mentioned the isolation rooms in the school district, Mr. Loshner. What is the plan for a person who enters that isolation room once they've gone into that area?
Okay, well, first, if it's a student, what we expect is obviously what happens at this point. We're going to take the temperature of every student who arrives to school. That is in all of our schools. When the student comes through the school building, the front doors or the side door, whatever door they come through, we will have a staff member there that will take their temperature. If the student obviously has a temperature greater than 100.0 Fahrenheit, then we are going to bring them down to the nurse. The nurse then will conduct a survey of the student, and if we believe that that student is symptomatic of the virus, then they will go into the isolation room. There is an isolation room in every single building. It more than likely will be right off the nurse's office. And in that isolation room, at that point, the student will be there. They'll make contact with home, and we will ask parents to come up at that point and pick up their child from school. So that's really the way we envision the isolation room. A staff member, obviously, if they go in there, it really would just be temporary, because at that point, we do expect a staff member to go home. If not on their own, certainly if a spouse or a family member can pick them up and drive them home, we'll send that staff member home as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Loshner. I guess the second part of that question was, what if there were multiple? And the reason why I opened up with that first question was the second part of that question was that, what if there are multiple people heading to the isolation room? I guess you did answer that question in that the stay in the isolation room is just temporary for students because they would be going home immediately after.
Yeah, and we will, like I said, we'll get the message out to parents. We would like them to pick up their son or daughter fairly quickly if they can, because, God forbid someone else comes down to the office. We do need to keep them separated. In the isolation room too, by the way, if there are multiple people in the isolation room, we will keep them socially distant. They'll obviously still have to wear their mask. They'll still be 6 feet apart. So we'll practice all of the protocols in that isolation room also.
You just mentioned masks. There was another question. I guess people or community members are still hesitant and really not credulous of our commitment to enforcing the mask rule. Mr. Lotion, I know that you and I had spoken about this, and the board members had spoken about this at length over multiple meetings. This really is not an option. I mean, we are going to demand that staff as well as students, keep the mask on. Can you expand on that, Ms. Loescher?
Yeah, absolutely. And talking to other superintendents, I didn't realize in some other plans at other districts, I think they did say that once they were in a classroom, and if they were socially distanced in a classroom, that they would actually remove their masks. Well, I will tell you that, those districts are, as we are, still adjusting their plans. And I've heard from many of them, they're actually, putting it back in, that they will wear their masks all day long in the classrooms. And that's always been our, philosophy right from the beginning. Students will wear a mask as soon as they get on the school bus. Actually, it should start prior to that. When they're on the bus stop, they should have their mask on. When they get on the school bus, they should have their masks. When they exit the school bus and enter the school building, they should have their masks on. And when they're in the classrooms, they should have their masks on. We will have, and again, this was by the Department of Health, we will have the 6 feet person to person between each desk, but you will also be required to wear your mask. Now, and that's written in stone. Obviously, traveling the hallways, you have to have your mask on. Now, people have obviously asked, when can they remove their mask? Well, they can remove their mask, obviously, when the child is eating. If they're eating, then yes, they can remove their mask. If they're in Phys Ed, and I think this might be one of the questions, Mr. Feliciano, about Phys Ed. We obviously will still be conducting Phys Ed. Obviously, in nice weather, we hope to bring the students out on the fields or on the track. And at that point, when they're, socially distanced, that is, they're 6 feet or beyond, they can remove their mask. But Phys Ed does have there is a requirement that's in there. It's in the regulations. Phys Ed, when they participate in Phys Ed, they have to be 12 feet or more apart. And the reason being, obviously, is because you can transmit, obviously, through the droplets. So you have to be 12 feet apart, and you might not have your mask on. Obviously, if you're doing physical activity, if they have the students out on the field, they're 12 feet apart, but they're also doing some calisthenics, they're doing some exercising. They can have their masks off at that point, but they'll be 12 feet apart. Okay?
Yeah, Ms. Loescher, so the other issue was, again, the social emotional component of what it is that the district offers. There are some questions about, having access to social workers, psychologists, and whatnot. I know that we are committed to keeping those services in. Is there anything you could expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, we are absolutely keeping those services in. There will be social workers and school psychologists available in the schools. Most schools, certainly the secondary schools, have a guidance counselor available also to them. We haven't reduced any of those numbers. I also want the district to know that we've put in a great deal of effort into the social emotional learning, and we recognize the trauma and the anxiety that many students have felt since the beginning of since the middle of March, really the beginning of the pandemic. And obviously the state ed department as well as the governor have spoken many times about how when students return to school, we should be tending to their emotional trauma. And we certainly have put in a great deal of effort into developing plans for the first couple of days and the first few weeks of school, that there will be quite a bit of attention paid to really reacclimating the students to school, taking care of any of the emotional issues that they might have experienced over the last few months. So we will be hypersensitive in the beginning of September, as well as throughout the year, but in particular in the beginning of the school year, to taking care of students' emotional needs. And really that's going to be part of the training at the beginning of the school year for teachers, helping them to recognize that that some students might really have experienced trauma, obviously in their own lives. We know that many families have been impacted, particularly here in Brentwood. Many of them have lost loved ones, and they haven't had an opportunity to really, express those emotions outside their, except for their small gatherings with their family. And a lot of times they're going to be, put into the school. They're going to see their friends for the first time. They're going to see teachers that they've known for many years. And obviously lots of emotions are going to spill out. And we have to be prepared for that. In terms of our social workers and school psychologists, they've already been working this summer on, some professional development, helping them to recognize the plans and how they're going to recognize the signs that students may have, and also, what they can do to help each individual student, as well as families. As you know, social workers play a critical role in terms of helping families through this traumatic time. They'll also be available for families also.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Can
Lochner.
you also, I'm sorry, Robert. Can you also speak to the hotline that we had put in place in the beginning of the COVID crisis?
Yes.
Will that also be available and still ongoing for parents and students?
Absolutely. Thank you, Eileen, for mentioning that. Yeah, we put in pretty early on, we put in a hotline that was manned by social workers, psychologists, and school nurses. And it will be, I'll make sure that it's up and running in September, and I'll get those hours out to you.
Mr. Lochner, what I'm doing is, as you are speaking, I am trying to pick up what's trending on the chat option of the YouTube streaming. And I guess one of the questions, I know that we don't have the calendar out yet, but I do see multiple questions about what day do you think the first day of student attendance will be?
Right. Well, I think on my presentation last week, the way it was presented, obviously the 8th and the 9th, that is September 8th and September 9th. That's the Tuesday and the Wednesday after Labor Day. We intend on having professional development for the teachers. And I said that the first day of student attendance would be September 10th, which is that Thursday. Now that's still in place. September 10th is the first day of student attendance. But as someone just mentioned earlier, we're still looking at potentially additional professional development days. If it's not that September 10th, it might be, later on, in September or October.
So, sir, I'm going to try to emphasize the importance of this survey, because what I also see trending is, I think there's still some confusion and some questions about, what it is that we just said and what it is that we just proposed. And what we're saying in summary is that, yes, we are going to try to accommodate the full virtual option, which is what I believe that you reference as the home teaching model.
Right.
So what Mr. Lochner just mentioned as a home teaching model is what's trending right now as a full virtual option. We are going to maintain the hybrid A/B day schedule. And insofar as the kindergarten, it is still in a morning and afternoon session. we have spent a lot of time about, talking about, the option for parents to keep their kids home. But I also, want to stress the fact that there are a lot of kids, a lot of kids that want to come back to school. So going, full virtual across the entire district is also something that we don't want to just take off the table, because there are, a lot of kids looking forward to coming back to school and sitting down with their teacher, even under all of these conditions with the masks and social distancing. And it is something that some kids are looking forward to. So I just want to just go back, and I want to just emphasize the importance of the survey. Mr. Lucia, the survey has to be done one per student for each member of that family, and it's in that survey that the parent or guardian will indicate what it is that they want to have happen with their child. Can you expand on that, Mr. Lucia?
Yeah, sure. What we're going to ask is, it's going to be a little different than the survey that we sent out a couple of weeks ago, because that was an anonymous survey. What we're actually asking here first, and let me be clear, we're asking for the student name. So that's number one. We're asking for the student name. We're asking for the student ID and number, and that's just so we don't confuse the students. And not everybody will know the student ID number. It's really optional. If you know your son's or daughter ID number, that's fine. Most of the secondary students will have memorized it by that point, but if not, it's not a big deal. Then we're going to ask what school your son or daughter goes to. So if it's Laurel Park, if it's North Middle School, the Freshman Center, we're going to ask that you indicate that. So student name, student ID number if possible. The school, we are asking for the parent name also, the guardian, the parent or guardian. And then finally, before I get to the actual questions, we're also asking for the email address of every parent. And that's really because we really want to keep the communication up between the school district, the schools, and the families. So really that email address is critical, as well as a cell phone number or a phone number. We're asking for that as well. So that's kind of all of the, the housework, if you will. You have to take care of all of that first. And then we're going to ask the actual questions. And again, as Mr. Feliciano said, we're asking that you do this for every one of your kids. So if you have 3 kids, it's 3 different surveys, and indicate the schools and the phone number again and again, if you could.
Mr. Lochner, I have a question. If a parent writes down that they want a certain model, are they committed to that, or can they switch sometime between the survey and the beginning of the school year?
Okay, well, that's actually a great point, Ms. Burgos. Yes, I mean, I think if they notify us before the beginning of the year, we should be able to switch them back into whatever model they want. But the 3 models that we're looking at is, we are looking at the hybrid. As Mr. Feliciano said, that we are going we're going forward with the hybrid, and that is on an alternating day schedule. Okay.
Can I interrupt you once more? I'm sorry, but even with the hybrid, on the days that the students are home, they are expected to log in at some point. Is that true?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
I can certainly explain that again. Yep. Now, in terms of the question, however, there's going to be, you're going to indicate whether you want your child to participate in the hybrid. That is the alternating days. They will come into school on one day physically, and as Ms. Burgos pointed out, the other days they will be required to log in and participate virtually. You're absolutely right. So that's the first method. The second method is all distance learning, or as I mentioned earlier, it's home teaching. In other words, your child will remain home every single day, and they'll just participate virtually with the school. Okay. And then the third option would be homeschooling. And that would be where the parent would choose to homeschool their child. And that is, they would take, care of the education completely. We would give the curriculum and any assistance, but really the tests, the quizzes, the daily teaching, that would take place by the parent or guardian. Okay. We are also going to ask, as part of that survey, a transportation question. And we would appreciate, obviously, if everybody could fill out this portion of the survey as well. It will help us develop our transportation routes. We're going to ask whether, obviously, if your son or daughter is participating in the hybrid method, if they're taking transportation, if you're going to send your son or daughter on the bus, or you're going to transport your son and daughter on their own. If you could indicate that on the survey, it will help us tremendously. And as Ms. Burgo said, I mean, this is not in stone. I mean, it is, we are going to ask for a commitment. I'm still asking the board what their opinions are in terms of a date. But as Ms. Burgo said, if it's before the beginning of the school year and you decide to change it, if you just notify us, we will certainly change it in eSchool, our student management system. But if you want me to talk about the hybrid method you just mentioned, Ms. Burgos?
Yes, the hybrid method, and also the at-home, if parents choose the home teaching, some of what that would look like. I know that we don't have a definitive plan yet,
Sure.
but
No, understand completely. The hybrid method is, okay, the hybrid method is where, again, your child will come in physically in person, and then other days they'll stay home. That's called the hybrid method. And on those days when obviously they're in school, they're going to all of their classes, or if they're in the elementary school, they're really staying in that one class. But the hybrid method, you're also home on certain days. There is an expectation, and I think every parent and every child should know this. When you're home, you are expected to log in during the school day and interact with teacher or teachers. And we'll get you that schedule. That's what Ms. Burgos was alluding to. We're still working on the actual particulars of that schedule, but we will get that to you. So, but that's a very important component, that when you're in school, you're going to your classes, but when you're home, we still have to take attendance, and you still have to log in and interact with your teachers, okay, during the school day. It's also, I think I should just stop here for a moment if I can, guys, and just let the whole community know that our goal is to give a device to every single student in the beginning of the school year. Because I know some of you are probably saying, well, logging in, what am I logging in with? I don't have a laptop, I don't have a computer. We are going to distribute within the first few days of school, it'll probably take a few days, as you can imagine, but we are going to distribute to all of the students a tablet. So every student will have the same device working on at home. And if they bring it to school, we encourage you to bring it to school and work on it in class in real time. So every student will have that.
But from what grade? I know you specified before it was first grade to 12th grade, right?
Actually, that is our intention now, is to give out a device to every student.
Okay.
That's grades 1 through 12.
Mr. Lochner, so to that point, I know that we are still anticipating some shipments of devices coming into the district. I know that IT is working around the clock to re-image some of these devices. It's funny because last week I had said I had made a statement to the community asking that, if they indeed had enough devices at home, to please be patient with, getting the device from the school district, because there may be other children, other families that might not have their own devices. So do you feel like that's still the case, that we may be off a little past, the first couple of weeks of school?
Well, I mean, if you have a device at home and you haven't been given a device by the school, then, we're going to ask that you do, log in using your own tablet or your own computer. But our intention is to distribute we want to be a one-to-one device district. And the reason being is it's really, it's just gonna make it seamless for students and staff to be working with that same device. one of the difficulties, as you can imagine, is some people might have a Mac, some people have a PC, some people have laptops, different iPads, and that can actually detract from the actual instruction. So we really, and I know the board is been really on this since the beginning, even prior to the pandemic. Obviously, you wanted to get the devices out there. So really, we want to be a one-to-one device district.
Absolutely, and that may take, it may take a few days, it may take a couple of weeks
Right.
to make that happen, but that is certainly a goal that we will accomplish this year.
Right.
Mr.
Now,
Lochner?
If I could, Mr. Feliciano, I just want to explain, because I know Ms. Burgos, I only got the hybrid. I'll just explain, if you choose the home teaching or the 100% distance learning, just to let you know, we also expect you to log in every single day and interact with a teacher or teachers. And again, you'll have a schedule. We don't have that right now. We're still working on those details, but that is an expectation if you are home. Now, also, we have one more model that is the virtual model, and that is if the entire school district is home. That's called our virtual model. Everybody's home. If everybody is home, and it could be where the governor quarantines us for 2 weeks, we quarantine ourselves for 2 weeks, or he just comes out in the beginning of September and says everybody stays home on home instruction. That's our virtual or distance learning model. And again, every student will be issued a schedule and will be expected to log on every single day, school day that is, and interact with a teacher or teachers. And you will have that schedule.
Mr. Lochner, can you touch base on the homeschooling and the declaration or the notice of intent that parents have to file? Is there an extension? I know it was August 1st, but we will be extending that date.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, there was an August 1st deadline. As a matter of fact, I even got a couple of emails today from parents and responded to them about homeschooling. We are extending that deadline. Really, it'll be probably towards the end of August, because people are obviously still making decisions, and we understand that.
I was going to, Ms. O'Connor, can you, there are some questions, there's some questions trending about the devices themselves. Do parents have to pay for them? They've even mentioned the fact that, in some school districts, they are looking for $25 that goes towards insurance. I don't know if we have any of those specifics now that we can reveal to the public, but it's certainly not something that we are asking the community members to pay for. Can you expand on that?
Sure, a little bit. We're covering the cost of the insurance, as other districts are charging the students or the families. So there is no cost for the devices. What we're looking to get is the Lenovo, either 100 or 300 level model. So as Mr. Lochner said, everybody's kind of on the same platform. It's an HP type platform. Yeah, so there'll be no cost, and it will take a little time to get them in the beginning of the school year. So we do appreciate it, as we heard earlier. If you have a device, please use it, and we will get around to you, because every school district is looking for computers right now, and they're hard to come by. We have quite a few that we're waiting to get in. We'll still have to image, but we are doing the best we can to get that going as quickly as possible. But it will go into the school year.
Okay, so just to be clear, and I know this is just something that we've spoken about in the past, these devices belong to the school district. The expectation is that these devices are coming back to the school district at some point. I don't know if we're going to want them back at the end of the school year. Some kids may do distance learning during the summer. They may be keeping their devices, but the expectation is just for the community to know that these devices will be coming back to the school district so that they are available for the incoming students in the following school year. They are not gifted to the community. These belong to the school district, and we're hoping that they are cared for and maintained because they're just so incredibly valuable to each one of us.
And there is an agreement that the parents will sign when they pick up the device that talks about the level of care, the expectation of how it's going to be returned, and we will need it back by the end of the school year, if not sooner, if, there is a vaccination, who knows? Chances are it's gonna go through, we may be going through the school year, but we would have to re-image it for the next school year. So we would absolutely need that back.
And what about limitations on the devices themselves? I know that there's concern about kids, going on to websites that, that aren't appropriate. What is the school district doing in terms of addressing those issues?
We've installed filtering software just as if they were in the school building. So whatever websites they can get to when they're in school, that's what they'll be able to get to on the devices, on the computers. The websites that they can't get to as well, you can't watch Netflix on it. There's no shopping, websites that you can get to on it. So it's really just our educational platforms that you'll be able to get to on the computers.
So purely academic.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have a
great.
question for either Ms. O'Connor or Mr. Lochner. Will any of the students will they have to sign a pledge also? I know some other school districts are doing that where they have the parent or guardian sign and they also have the student sign.
To tell you the truth, right now we just have the parent signature on it, but that's something that we can discuss in terms of having the student sign it as well, so they can take that pledge.
Just to keep them just to make them accountable
Right.
also.
Yeah, I
Right.
know we talked about that early on when we were establishing the policy. So
Mhm.
maybe it's something we do need to revisit.
Yeah, sure.
Because they do sign now, they do sign a computer use agreement, right?
They
Like
do.
that they're not going to use, the computers for purposes other than school. So something similar, as
Exactly.
far as like upkeep of the device.
Mr. Lochner, can you touch base on UPK? I know you mentioned K to 12, but will we be having UPK? A lot of parents have been asking.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, that is correct. We will be having UPK, and we have the 3 CBOs. That's the community-based organizations, a Family Service League, Shepherd's Gate, and MDQ. They will be they will be our providers this year. And I'm not prepared right now to go over exactly what their methods are. We're still working with them, but I will tell you this, if you're looking to have a full day UPK, that more than likely will be available to you. If you're looking for part-time, there will be some part-time seats available as well. So yes, we are fully intending on having a UPK this year.
So Lucia, there's another question that seems to be trending, and that is about lunch. I know that we spoke about that earlier. The question is, and if I could summarize it, the district has an obligation to feed all kids, whether they are virtual learning that teach at home or the hybrid model. One of the things that we are still trying to figure out, one of the things that that I know that's still difficult to do is how to get those meals to those kids who are being taught from home, or the virtual learning and the hybrid model. So Lucia, I know that you don't have the answer just yet, but if you want to try to tackle this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It is something, actually, we mentioned it earlier, and Ms. O'Connor and Ms. Grotsky, who is in charge of our food service here in the district. We talk a great deal about this, to be honest with you. We are committed. Obviously, we're obligated to give breakfast and lunch to all students. And that is, as you mentioned, Ms. Feliciano, that is if you are in school or you are out of school. If you're on virtual learning, let's say 5 days a week, we are still obligated to give you a breakfast and lunch. And we are working on that right now. So if I could just spend a few moments just to talk about it, but it's not in stone because it's a lot of, there are a lot of moving pieces to this thing, as you can imagine. I mean, we have, approximately 19,000 students that we have to account for. So it's kind of, you know, a work in progress. We will have it nailed down in hopefully the next few days, exactly how we're going to do this. But it may be this: if your child comes into school on, you know, let's say Wednesday, and they're off on Thursday, then they may be taking a breakfast or lunch home with them in the afternoon. So if we go to that model, you have to expect that your son or daughter might have 1 or 2 days worth of milk. Remember, when we do this, we give out a regular milk and a chocolate milk. So they could feasibly be coming home with 2 or 4 milks, as well as maybe 2 breakfasts. Might be it might be a thing of cereal, or it might be a bagel, and it will be 2 sandwiches. It might be cheese. It might be a couple of fruits. So you have to, as moms and dads and guardians, as well as kids who are out there, if you are given a lunch and breakfast on your way home, please put that in the refrigerator. Anything that needs to be refrigerated, please put it in there. The cheese, the milks, the fruit, even. And then that's there for them to obviously eat the next day or 2 days from then. Now, in terms of the virtual, we are still working on places throughout the district where families can come up with the students and pick up a breakfast and a lunch so they can eat that day, or maybe they will give it out in a 2-day span. We haven't worked that out just yet. But we will have a plan in place for those kids who are home to come to the school and get a breakfast and a lunch for 1 day or multiple days. And we will have a method in place for those that are here on the hybrid model on alternating days.
Thank you, Mr. Loshner. This is next question is, I know has been incredibly frustrating to you, because I know we all know, the all board members, how hard you and your team were working on presenting a timely plan to New York State. You know, as you know, the Brentwood School District was identified in a local newspaper as being one of those school districts that did not submit its plan to New York State. But you know, here we are. You know, I believe it was last Monday, we presented our plan to the community. So how does this happen? You know, go ahead, Mr. Loshner.
Well, you know, what happened was we were actually required on July 31st to post the plan to our school website, which we did. As you guys know, we posted it on July 31st. And on August 3rd, we actually gave a meeting much like this to the community. So obviously we had the plan in place. What you have to then do is, it's kind of crazy here, but you have to go into what's called a portal, a New York State Ed portal, and you have to certify the plans. And I did go in on the 31st, and I checked off, my gosh, it was, you know, dozens of boxes that had to be checked off, and I had to answer some questions, etc. And I submitted it, but there was one other portion that was not clear or evident to us, and that was not checked off. That box was not checked off. And then subsequently, actually, Miss O'Connor went in yesterday, I believe, and checked off that one box, and you know, sent it into New York State, and then we were completely certified. But really, as you can see, 107 school districts kind of made that you know, missed that one step. But our plan was submitted.
Thank you, and we know it was, and there's no doubt on our part. But I thought that giving you the moment to explain,
I appreciate
that.
that.
That's in the community, so there's no doubt on our part. So you know, I want to say that, you know, we could continue this conversation for hours and hours to come, but ultimately what you need now is just more time to continue to develop this part of the plan. Mr. Loshner, you know, not only you, but you and your team, your cabinet members, your administrators, working along with additional staff in the school district. So what I'd like to do is, you know, try to close this meeting out today, unless there are any questions from any of the board members, anybody else that might have a question. Any questions?
No, I'm good.
So what I'd like to do is I would like to try to close this meeting out with the knowledge and with the anticipation that we will be coming back at some point in the future. It's probably going to be at the beginning of next week with more answers. We'll probably have more clarity in terms of what the school year is going to look like on all of the models that we've presented today. Again, in closing, I just want to, continue to hammer on this point that we need the community's cooperation. We need the community's patience. We need help in trying to solve the problems that come up. Because I speak on behalf of all board members. We have a team that's trying. This Board of Education is trying. The district administrators are trying to do the best thing for this community. But even with the best laid out plan, we know that there are going to be problems. We know that there are going to be issues. There are going to be deficits that that maybe we didn't expect. So at every single meeting, I'm going to continue to say the same thing, because if we aren't working together, then this doesn't work at all. Mr. Lochner, on behalf of the entire board, to you and your team, I want to thank you. Is there anything that you want to say on?
No, I mean, you actually ended it just the way I would have also, Mr. Feliciano. Really, it is, here's another word that we use all the time these days, fluid. It really is a fluid plan. We're taking all of the comments from the Board of Education has been terrific. I mean, I want to tell the community out there that they are, they are your biggest advocates. I have to be honest with you. They are on top of this plan like no others. They are very serious. They're super committed to making sure that, we're doing the best we can in September. And I want to thank the board. They've been terrific through this whole, very supportive, but also, they're also bringing all of the concerns from the community to the central administration. So we really appreciate that. And then there's lots of people who are emailing and calling every day. And I love that. And that's please keep emailing me and calling, not just me, but I know the assistant superintendents are getting quite a few correspondence from parents. That's terrific. That's all helping us, formulate our plan. But the bottom line is it isn't going to be perfect. And it's not going to satisfy, it's not going to check off all of your boxes. And that's what really is, breaks our heart here, because we want the best for all of our kids. And we're going to try to give that, but we'll have so many different methods. We have the virtual, the completely virtual, we have the hybrid, we have the home teaching, the homeschooling. And we're going to try to, really meet the needs of all of our kids. And as Mr. Feliciano said, if you have patience, you let us know if something is not working. We'll work to change it. But really, in the beginning of the school year, it will be a little bumpy. It will be a little rocky. Who ever thought that we would be sending who would ever thought you would be sending your son and daughter to school on alternating days? Okay, or who would have thought a year ago that you were potentially thinking of keeping your 5th grader or 7th grader or 1st grader home because of some virus? Obviously, no one dreamed of this. And what we're doing is we're trying to plug all of the gaps. And I promise you that we're trying to think of every possible scenario. But if there is something that you're concerned about, let us know, let the board know. If there is something that needs to be changed after the 1st week or 2nd week, we may do that. As a matter of fact, Mr. Feliciano mentioned that earlier. I'm not sure if he mentioned it out here, but there's a possibility, by the 2nd or 3rd week, we change something in the plan because we recognize that it just wasn't working for this particular reason. But we'll obviously communicate that to the community. I'm not saying that something like that's going to happen, but it could, because this is all new to us. But we really are committed to trying to really think of every possible scenario, every permutation of a problem, and we're trying to figure out how to, put in a solution. So that's where we are. But I do appreciate everybody's patience, and continue to let us know your concerns.
Mr. Lochner, so in terms of the survey, do you have a date in terms of when the community can anticipate the survey? And and just to be clear to all community members, the survey will be posted on all social media outlets. It'll be on the district website. It'll be on Facebook. So do you have a date for when the survey will be available, Mr. Lochner?
Yeah, I hope to get it out tomorrow. That's really my hope is tomorrow. I mean, I'll let you know that if it's not, it will certainly be the next day, Thursday, but I'm really hoping tomorrow. And on it, as I said, there'll be some things that I really do need every parent or guardian to fill out very clearly, their names and specifics, and then answer 3 or 4 questions in terms of what their choices are in terms of attending school and transportation. It'll be extremely helpful. I would love to see 100% participation rate, because then we really can make decisions. And when we come back, when we join up again next week, if we have solid numbers, we'll really be able to make some decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Lochner. So just to be specific to the community members out there, Wednesday, August 12th is the expected date that the survey will be released. And then just as importantly, what we're asking is that the turnaround time for the survey be just days. We are hoping to have the responses back as quickly as possible, with as close to full responses by Monday the 17th. I mean, the survey will continue to accept the survey throughout the rest of the month, even probably to the beginning of the school year. But that just helps us and the district to better plan on what the first day of school will look like. So to all community members, I know that we probably have about 300 people watching this live feed right now. Please get the word out to all community members. When the survey comes out, we're asking for everybody to fill it out. We would love to have 100% in terms of responses. And again, the quicker the better. It's just going to make that so much easier for district administrators to do what they have to do. With that being said, I want to thank all the board members for all of the time that they put in, district administrators, our school council, and district clerk who are here with us. Could I please have good night to the Brentwood community? We will most likely be meeting a couple of times next week, but that notice will be posted as soon as we have those dates. With that being said, good night to everyone. I'm going to need a motion to adjourn public session.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I please have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night,
Night, night.
everyone.
Good night.
Everyone.